The Ax60 box will contain the central display, the quick start guide, and the unit wall template. You should also find these items in the sensor and alarm boxes.
Each sensor has a sensing area of about 80 cubic meters. The CO2 sensor needs to be installed at around 12 inches above the ground. The central display unit and the O2 sensor should be installed around average head height, and the alarm should be installed in the most visible position.
With this information, use the wall templates to drill out where the unit should be installed. For ease of installation, we recommend you screw all the units onto the wall prior to wiring, apart from the CDU.
With the sensor units now on the wall, take the front of the sensor off the body and check the J-tags. The J-tags are used to locate the sensor's position on the central display unit. If there's more than one sensor, it is used to differentiate between sensor 1, sensor 2, sensor 3 and sensor 4. The main rule is sensor 1 position 1, sensor 2 position 2, sensor 3 position 3 and sensor 4 position 4.
Now the unit is prepped, it is time to wire it up. Take the grey Cat5e cable that was sent with the unit. Clip off the cable ties and take one end to the central display. Using the cable glands at the bottom of the unit, feed the cable through. You can also use the knockouts around the unit to feed the cable through, depending on how you would like to install it.
Take the cable ends and using the colour guide printed on the PCB, install the wires into the terminal. Using a terminal screwdriver, clamp each wire into the terminal. Here is also where you can install the power cable, installing it through the glands and into the terminal. The CDU is now all wired up. However, you can see that there's 2 relays and a beacon. This is where you can wire these up. This is where you can set up the 2 relays for the Ax60 system, setting up something such as a fan. You can use the normally open, normally closed and common lines to do this. And you can also wire up a 0 to 12 volt or 0 to 24 volt beacon if purchased.
The other end of the cable now needs to be installed into the sensor unit. The sensor units work on a daisy chain system. If the system has more than one sensor, you need to double up the wires from sensor to sensor. To wire up sensor 1, feed the cable through the cable glands and using the PCB guide, put the wires into the terminal and clamp them down. You will also notice there are 2 separate terminals on the sensor unit. One is for the central display unit. Here is where you would double up the sensors. The other is where you would wire up the alarm. Here you would use one side of the alarm's Cat5 cable to wire up to the sensor. You will notice the blue and white cable is an addition in the alarm terminal on both the alarm and sensor side.
Repeat the steps above for all sensors attached in your system. You can have 4 sensors attached in your Ax60 system and up to 8 alarms. We recommend testing the system to make sure it all works before closing everything up and screwing it back on. And finally, screw the CDU onto the wall.
Now that the unit is installed and wired up, it's time to navigate the menus. The top level menu on the Ax60 can be used to configure the Ax60 device to the user's needs. In this menu, you can adjust alarm set points, attach new sensors, calibrate, and set up relays, and much more. All can be found in the Ax60's service manual.
We're now going to show you a couple of the most important menus. If you have more than one sensor attached, not only do you have to check the jumper position, but you also have to tell the central display how many sensors you have. To do this, you need to press and hold down the red cancel button and the blue cycle button at the same time for around 6 seconds. You will notice that on the main screen it will say top level menu when you have completed the action. Using the blue cycle button, you cycle the menus to central config. Then you can press the green accept test button to select the menu. You should see attached sensors. Select this menu too, and then select how many sensors you want attached. You can then use the red cancel button to exit all these menus.
Adjusting your alarm set points. Although already set by factory default, we do allow the users to adjust the alarm set points to their needs. Although by default, alarm 2 on a CO2 sensor is set at 3%, it can be set up to 6%. To do this, you first have to enter into the top level menu, cycle to sensor config, cycle then to alarm set points. Now using the blue cycle button, you can cycle through the alarms from 2 to 4 on which alarm you would like to change. Number 1 is a time weighted alarm, so it cannot be changed. Using the blue cycle button, you can also change the alarm set point shown on the screen. By pressing the cycle button, it will change by 0.1%, and by holding it, it will change by 1%. Using the green button will accept this as the new alarm set point, and then you can use the red cancel button to cancel out of the menus.
If you have wired up your relays, you may want to configure them to be alarms, fault and failsafe designs. In the central config, you can use the cycle button to activate relays on failsafe, activate them on alarms, or activate them on faults. Example of a configuration is having relay 1 be activated on alarm 1 and relay 2 being activated on alarm 2.
Changing the elevation levels on the Ax60 is now a feature that we have incorporated. This ensures that users at a higher altitude can safely and reliably monitor CO2. To change the elevation levels, enter the top level menu and cycle to central config. Cycle to elevation level, and you should notice that it says that elevation level is off. You can then use the cycle button to change the elevation level. Singular presses increment the level by 25 meters, and holding it increments it by 100 meters. Once at your elevation level, press the Accept Test button. The lowest this can be is 82 feet and the highest is 10,000 feet. Press Accept Test to accept the elevation level, or press the cycle button to change it back to off. Return to normal operation.
Now you have set up your system, it's time to talk about how to test it. Firstly, you have to make sure that the system is turned on and everything is warmed up. For CO2 sensors, it's 30 seconds. For safe ox sensors, it's also 30 seconds. And for the O2, it's 2 hours. Once warmed up, you want to check that A, all the power lights are on. The CDU and the sensor has flashing power lights and the alarms have constant power lights. B, check that there are no faults in the system. And C, all the sensors are reading OK. Once this is done, you can complete an alarm test by holding down the Accept Test button. An alarm test will be completed to check that all alarms are working. This will only last a few moments, however, during this time, the user cannot stop the test.
Here are a few different codes that the Ax60 may see. OK, this states that all is working as it should be. Warm up, this means that the sensor unit is warming up. AL, this states an alarm, and there are up to 4 of them. TWA is a time-weighted alarm that indicates that there is a higher than average amount of gas over an 8-hour period. FLT indicates that there is a fault with the unit, and the fault code will be indicated.
From the fault codes, the most common code you may find when installing the Ax60 unit is the comms fault. This is a communications fault between the sensor unit and the central display. We have a separate video on how to fix this on our YouTube channel.